Gray is here on the Blaze Radio Network.
And welcome to it. Oh, wait. Oh.
Good morning, American.
What's your deal? Wow. Jeez, how do you? I mean, what is the matter?
It's Friday.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And as the last Friday of the month, it is time for our, what do we call it? Free Think Friday?
Free Think Friday.
Free
Pat.
Think Friday.
Yes, sir.
That's what we call it, because you're allowed to think freely on this one Friday a month.
Just this day.
That's it.
Just this day.
That's it. You can imagine all kinds of possibilities. Whether the Earth is flat, the moon landing never happened, the Titanic didn't sink.
Young Earth.
The Earth is 7,000 years old.
JFK assassination was a
killed
coup.
by everybody.
Hey, what happened to Malaysian Airlines Flight 370?
It disappeared.
Oh.
It disappeared. And we still haven't found it. But you know what? It didn't just disappear. It was transported to a new place.
That's correct.
By
That's
the way,
what
I will say this. Here at the studios, every single person has been talking about that for the last
It's incredible.
4 weeks.
That's all anybody
in this building
talks about
know.
to me. Still.
Ashton Forbes.
So we're going to change that after today, though.
Oh,
Yes.
yes,
We're gonna
I
be
think so
talking about
too.
this.
Seriously.
And I
After
mean
today,
that. Yes.
they'll be talking about what happened in Las Vegas. Was that 17? Was
Yes.
Was it 2017?
October
Yes.
1st, 2017. Yes, sir.
My gosh.
Almost 7 years.
6.5, almost 7 years ago now. When, how many people? I don't even remember. It was 56?
Oh, gee.
It was a lot. I mean, it was the worst mass shooting in the United States of America.
Well, Mindy will know, but I think it's
yeah.
60, right?
Is
60
it?
people died, and 413 were injured, something like that.
How about you let the guest guess?
That's a, and maybe
Well, the
it
guest
won't be a
won't guess.
guess.
It won't be a
I'm
guess,
Sure,
yeah.
she probably knows.
61. 61.
61 died.
That's like I said.
And hundreds were injured.
All right.
And there are some who think that we haven't heard the whole story yet.
Huh.
Okay. Let's go to our expert, Mindy Robinson. Mindy is an independent journalist, a documentarian, and the documentary she produced is fascinating.
Incredible.
Fascinating. It's on Rumble. Okay. And she's also the host of Conspiracy Truths. Mindy, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's a sad subject, but it needs to get out there.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Very much so. So the official run us through what the official story. I don't even know what the official story is, except for this millionaire gambler got pissed or lost a lot of money, and so he just started shooting people. Is that pretty much the story officially?
I mean, that's the narrative.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. As
No.
someone that lives here, as someone that was supposed to be there, and I can correct you. There were 58 people that were killed that
58.
day. 59 if you count Paddock, because I don't think he shot anybody. And it's the third largest mass shooting. The other two were also done by our government: Wounded Knee and I believe Waco.
Okay.
You got it. Yes.
Wounded Knee and
That's interesting because I just watched a Waco documentary too, and it's fascinating, and it pissed me off.
You
like,
are,
I mean-
lucky this is Free Think Friday.
yeah, yeah.
Smart
You're
man,
allowed
I'll
to
tell
be
you that.
enraged on this one Friday a month.
Yes.
So good luck with that. But you don't, Mindy. Do you not believe he killed anybody at this event?
No, not unless he's
Wow.
a magician. There's a couple of issues that I don't think Paddock did it. There was a gunshot heard earlier that day that was complained about that was covered up. I talked to the person. Apparently he shot out the window, locked it from that side, magically transported to the other side to die on the floor.
Right.
And threw the gun over his head, and the bullets are on top of the blood. And, his hard drive walks off that would have had everything on camera. His house gets ransacked because the police left it open. It's the crappiest cover-up I've ever seen. And the reason you don't know more about it, because after 2 weeks, they told the media to stop reporting on it. There were too many holes in the story, and they were about to get in big trouble.
Well, that's the interesting thing because you're right. After about 2 weeks,
Went away.
you just didn't get any information at all. And then you'd think every once in a while, hey, what was the deal with Las Vegas? When are they going to
Nothing.
tell us?
Shut up.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we were just silenced. And they just swept it under the rug and everything was fine. Right? They don't have to explain it anymore.
They just won't report on it because they can't. I mean, if you saw the documentary, you saw how much was covered up. It wasn't covered up well. The guy that's now our governor was installed. He's a Republican, but the Republicans, and I'm a libertarian, they endorsed somebody else. for the primary, and then 40,000 people couldn't vote in our primary due to a DMV glitch, and this guy wins despite being hated by both parties, including himself. And then our incident commander goes to Maui, hides it, and covers up the fires there that the Fed set.
All right.
It's disgusting.
Right.
No one here will report on it.
Oh my gosh.
And Lombardo can't go anywhere publicly without getting booed about it. It's quite disgusting.
Yeah, that was the one thing
Holy
watching your
cow.
documentary.
Wow.
I personally saw it after he was already governor. And so watching your warnings about him and then knowing, oh my gosh, this guy is actually governor now. I don't believe so I suspected something was up with Las Vegas from the beginning. Everybody in this room did. Mm-hmm. But we couldn't put our
From the
finger
very
on
beginning.
it. We couldn't put our finger. What is going on here? Mm-hmm. You watch your presentation, which I just want to personally commend you, is so thorough,
Yeah.
Mindy. It covers everything. And there is so much there, and yet nobody cares. Nobody cares of these unanswered questions and all of the craziness that was happening because the shooting itself was just a small part of that night, right?
The next day, you would have thought a different event happened.
Mm-hmm.
I knew so many people there. I was actually flying overseas. So when I landed and I'm incommunicado for like 10 hours, they thought I was dead because I was supposed to be there and I was there the year before. And you would have thought a different event happened. There were gunmen seen. There were gunshots heard. You had bullet casings on the opposite side of where Mandalay Bay was, near the Tropicana. They saw casings. They heard gunshots. They saw gunmen. How is that happening on the opposite side? How are so many people killed by headshots from the stage? I looked at every single autopsy, and I had to match their descriptions to the autopsies because they were anonymous. But you can figure out tattoos and height and sex. There were at least a dozen with straight trajectories. How is that possible from
clear up
way
above?
up high in a tower? It's not.
Yeah.
Right.
And they had to cover this up. It was so bad. There were so many issues I could bring to light if you saw the documentary. And here's the thing. Millions of people. I did this for free. I spent a half year. I read every police report. I listened to every 911 call. I talked to first responders. There are things that aren't in there because they wouldn't want to go on record because they're scared they're going to be killed by our government. But millions of people have seen this. I told them to rip it off, put it on their platform so this can never be taken down. And it can't be. And millions of people know the truth, even if no one in the mainstream will report on it. Not Fox, not nobody. I would love to go on Tucker or Joe Rogan and talk about this because I'm the only one in this town doing anything, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't come down to some douchebag from Massachusetts to do these things lately.
So walk us through, if you can, the incongruencies here. Tell us where this starts and give us a snapshot of what happened that night.
Well, as you know, it's a 2-hour documentary because I couldn't be wrong in anything. It starts off with the Hispanic woman warning people that they're going to die right before this happens.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I think points to the government doing this are the helicopters. 3 helicopters, and almost nobody knows this. I had to look at the flight paths and everything. 3 helicopters fly above the Mandalay Bay, which is already weird, turn off their transponders 10 minutes before the shooting. People swear they see these helicopters shooting. They swear that they hear gunshots. I mean, there are broken magazines and shells everywhere that people are finding. And then the transponders go on the minute that the shooting is over, and then they fly north toward the base. Who has the power to hide something like that if not the federal government? Wow. And here's the thing, you have to remember, Hillary was supposed to win. Remember, she had fireworks and no concession speech. She was supposed to win, but Trump was president. I believe they were going after the entire Second Amendment, and they made a huge mistake by shooting at a country music crowd where even the old woman knew that it wasn't a bump stock. They know the sounds of different calibers. They know it was more than one shooters. They know these things. They shot at veterans and rednecks. They recognize this, and that's why they had to bury it. I believe they were going for the entire Second Amendment, and everyone talks about, the Saudi Arabian prince or whatever. If that was an assassination attempt, it was the worst one I ever heard of. You had to kill one person and you couldn't do it, and you had an international stage where you brought attention to yourself. That doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. And they made a lot of money. You got the CEO of MGM dumping his stock. You got George Soros, because he has to be involved, short selling his stock right before this happens, just like 9/11, all this other crap. It's so obvious that the feds did this, and it's the worst cover-up. The missing hard drive, the ransacked house, the buried police reports. You ask anyone that was there, they'll tell you there was more than one shooter. I even pulled a license plate from the police scanner that night. They could have looked up that guy that had the gun going up and down the strip doing a distraction, which I believe because they were doing something funny at the airport, because it was funny shit going on at the airport all night. And it's funny that the gunmen and all these things are leading people away from the airport. It's disgusting, and these things are going to keep on happening if we don't stop them. I mean, they're out of freaking control. They just try to medically genocide anyone. Is this really out of the realm of possibility for this government?
So your allegation is, though, that this was done by the feds, even though Trump was in office? Do you think it was the State Department, the CIA? Where do you think this came from?
Isn't it all the same people at this point? I mean, I don't know what Trump, I doubt they told Trump the truth on everything. It happened on his watch. Maybe he feels guilty about it. He endorsed Lombardo. I lost my freaking mind. He got booed here because he endorsed the guy that covered it up. He is not who we wanted. And you know what? I love Trump. I support him. I want an apology for that Lombardo endorsement. I want an apology for the clot shot death vax. I get boomers don't understand how vaccines work, but we now. Please apologize for this crap.
I don't think that's going to happen. So good luck with that.
And that's what I was going to say. Don't hold your breath while you're waiting for those apologies.
Okay, so when I watched the documentary, Mindy, I concluded that you didn't really, I guess, express who you thought was behind it. You kind of left it to the viewer, if I recall. I saw it 6 months ago, and so I'm a little surprised to hear you say that the federal government. Not because I don't think the federal government is capable of doing this.
Oh my gosh!
But I just watching the documentary and hearing some of the descriptions of the shooters and stuff, I thought, my gosh, was this some sort of foreign thing? But before we get into who you really think is at the root of this, can we go back, because I feel that without the publicly available 911 recordings and the alerts that were sent out there in Las Vegas, I feel that we would have even less to go on as it relates to this. Am I right about this? In other words, is the publicly available 911 tapes, is that the only reason that we know that there was so much mass chaos throughout the city of Las Vegas that night?
Well, isn't it funny how the most surveilled city in the world, and we have no casino tapes, we went off of people's cell phone footage, minus the ones that the feds took, that people gave up thinking that the feds were going to help solve it.
Explain that.
I've talked to people. They deleted the evidence.
Yes. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So explain that, because there's plenty of people that took cell phone footage from the concert and the surrounding areas as the helicopters were flying low and shooting, and the shooting was happening and stuff. The federal government went in there and confiscated these phones, right?
Sure did. People's
Unreal.
laptops, people's cell phones. They handed it in thinking that the government was going to use it to solve crime, and they got deleted.
Oh,
but unfortunately, this is Vegas, and this is it. They posted everything online. And as I was doing this documentary, I did this like 2 years ago or something, the evidence was disappearing. They were scrubbing the internet of everything. So I'm meeting people in, parking lots of gas stations to get hard drives, because we knew this was going to happen, and smart enough people thought to save it, thankfully. But yeah, where's the casino footage? Where is all the casino footage? And we can't even, one of the things, like Matt Couch realized, he came out here because he wanted to look at the asphalt pavement from the concert venue. They paved over in a week.
That
the guiltiest crap I've ever seen in my life.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was
I didn't know that.
A big point that you made there. Can I just point out that if people aren't familiar, so you got the hotel, you got the shooter supposedly shooting down on the concert goers, but your documentary points out very clearly that there are angles that are impossible where people were found shot point blank range, as you said, straight between the eyes. That there's not a chance. Not only could the shooter have shot them from the hotel itself, but I mean, it's like around the corner down the street. Not a chance. I mean, these bodies, the death count was not just limited to right there in the field where the concert was held.
There was another pile of dead bodies exactly where people saw and heard gunfire near the Tropicana, where they found casings. And it's so disgusting because there clearly was a sniper or two. There were perfect headshots. my friends were there while people got their heads blown off. Straight on trajectory. That doesn't happen. And if you watched my video, where you gotta love how so many cops were told to turn off their body cam footage because we're not freaking paying for that for nothing. So thankfully the canine officer left his on.
Right.
They can't find the second broken window. You know, they released crime scene photos where there should be broken glass and shells everywhere. They found the 8 shots that came from that room that Paddock magically transported to the other side to die on. But where are all these shells and broken glass? They should be They can't find the second broken window. I can't find it on the helicopter footage. And then you get the 911 call at 11:30 when they break through that door, you know, because that Paddock magically walked through. And then someone calls and complains that glass is falling outside their window. I think they busted the window. Now, if you notice, I don't put things in the documentary. I didn't say who I thought did it. I'm an independent journalist. People need to come to their own conclusions. But I will tell you, as Mindy Robinson sitting here, the feds did it. They set it up. It's crappy as hell. I mean, Scooby-Doo could have solved this.
It was the next day that it happened, right? It's true. It's truly. I encourage people to go and watch your documentary.
Yeah, and we'll get into where you can find that and much more. We haven't even scratched the surface yet with Mindy Robinson. We'll get into that coming up here in 1 minute. First, let me tell you about Jace Medical, because just like back during the pandemic, we have drug shortages, medical supply shortages going on right now. There's just certain things that you can't get, and certainly not right when you need them.
Correct.
Sometimes you have to wait. I got a call from my pharmacy last time around, and they said, yeah, we don't have it. We'll give you a call. 2 weeks later, I got the call. Oh, it's in. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Good thing I didn't, die in the meantime. You don't want that to happen to you. Yeah, the Jace case, but it wasn't an antibiotic thing, but there's something you can do about this to make sure you're set if you get a bacterial infection of any kind, a UTI, you get strep throat, whatever. You got the Jace case handy. It's got 5 antibiotics in it. You can order add-ons like ivermectin in case, we get the 14th round of COVID, or who knows what's coming next.
That's the point.
Maybe they'll have the bird flu remedy ready by the time the bird flu kicks in. Anyway, you need the Jace case. Go to Jace Medical. That's Jase. JaceMedical.com. Use the promo code PAT and save at checkout.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
Fascinating discussion with Mindy Robinson, independent journalist, documentarian, host of Conspiracy Truths. Mindy, where can people get the documentary that we've been referring to?
Everywhere. I did that on purpose. It's on YouTube, but it's age restricted. It's on Rumble. I told everyone to rip it off, put it on their platform so that the feds can't mess with it, and they haven't been able to. It's called Route 91, Uncovering the Cover-Up. You put that in Mindy Robinson. It should be a 2-hour doc, and anyone can watch it for free any which way to Sunday, honestly. I just want the info out there.
And it's worth it. It is so worth the 2 hours that you spend watching it.
It's stunning.
It
no
is.
question.
Because we're connected to current events and what's happening in the news, and there was so much, Mindy.
We had no idea.
That it was just jaw-dropping.
Tell us about the helicopters, because I found that really fascinating. It's alleged, or I think you believe, it seemed like it to me, that some of the shots actually came from helicopters?
Yeah.
That's what a lot of the 911 calls were about. People swore that they heard and saw the helicopters shooting at the ground, because we know it didn't come from that second window.
Right.
So where did it come from? You've got snipers on one end. You've got shooters near the Tropicana on the kitty corner side, on the opposite side of Mandalay Bay. And it seems to be these helicopters as well. And there's a 4th helicopter I call the planecopter, because I'm an ass. That's supposed to be a Southwest airplane. That's the call sign. But then it stops above the Delano and hovers to do an extraction. And the Delano and the Mandalay Bay are connected through underground tunnels.
Right.
And then there's a 911 call where they saw 2 guys with guns going to Delano too. So, it's the sloppiest crap I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
That's why everyone had to stop talking about it.
There were so many 911 calls about shootings or active shooters or people showing up with guns at casinos and bars. Have you tallied up how many separate incidents? I mean, I'm sure that some that were at one location were at another, but do you have any kind of, have you landed on a number of how many people were actively involved in this?
It's hard to tell. I do believe, since no one else was killed outside the outside the immediate area of the concert, that everything else was a distraction away from the airport, because there were funny things. They were looking for someone at the airport. There's that weird video. So someone was just shooting and causing distractions. People saw this person. They weren't a ghost. There's at least one person, maybe more. But obviously no one was killed or anything like that, but the gunshots were heard. So to me, that's a distraction. And they have the license plate. They could have found this guy, just like the pipe bomber, J6. They got his license plate. Can't find him. They can arrest every MAGA grandma from here to Ohio.
Yep.
But, they can't actually stop people doing real crimes.
Okay, so-
and why would they do that?
So
Why would they do that if they weren't feds?
We have the shooters from the helicopter, and then we have snipers on both ends of the concert venue, right? So you have gatherings of shooters in a parking lot at one end. And then we just believe that there were separate snipers down at the other end of the parking lot, because people aren't getting shot in the forehead, straight on from the helicopters or the Mandalay Bay. So there had to be multiple shooters on the ground, right?
There had to at least be a set of snipers coming from the stage area toward the crowd as they're looking at the concert. There were just too many straight on, really good headshots, and people saw and heard those shots. I mean, it would be lovely if we could just, look at the evidence, but they destroyed everything pretty quick. And that's kind of where we're stuck. We were stuck without a lot of evidence. And then the other big thing, there were 3 people. Laura Loomer found this. There were 3 people registered to that room that night that aren't Paticker's girlfriend, that they won't name or investigate. I guess the public isn't allowed to ask those people. Yeah, there are 3 women's names, so they say. They could be Israeli spies. It could be a lot of things. They seem to like to help with things. And we have no right to, and I confronted Lombardo. I have a video of it. I caught him outside, if you will, confronted him at the only public appearance he did before his primary. I said, who are the 3 people you won't name or investigate? He looks right at me and goes, your family, and starts laughing and takes off. That's what we're dealing with here.
Oh, my gosh.
Sorry, I don't even know if you're allowed to swear on house.
No, you're not really, but we're rolling with it.
Sorry.
No. So, okay. So you talk about the head-on shots from people that were up near the stage, correct? And I was just looking.
And there seemed to be some kind of spraying near the Tropicana. It wasn't as direct or on, but they tagged a lot of people there.
So I was just trying to look online, because you did a great job illustrating this with maps and charts and everything. But I'm just here on the fly here. Where was the Mandalay Bay Hotel in relation to the stage? Was it behind the people that would be facing the stage, or where was it in relation?
Okay. It's kind of hard to explain. So picture like a rectangle, right? You've got the stage here. I'm doing this opposite of my thing, so it might be wrong, but you have the Mandalay Bay looking that way. Then I believe there are gunshots going this way, and then you got the Tropicana on the opposite side shooting this way with the pile of bodies there.
Incredible.
So that was not one person.
Right. And so, okay, you alluded to earlier the canine officers that failed to turn off their body cams. That was in Paddock's room, if I'm not mistaken, right? What did we learn?
Yeah, the one where the cops were eating snacks off the hotel bar. Yeah. Lovely.
That's fascinating. I mean, was that just cops being just flippant with the moment, or something more sinister there?
They were ordered to turn off their body cams. I have at least 2 separate instances where, like, all right, turn off your body cams.
Right.
Why?
Right.
And
Who gave that order?
Didn't, and a couple other didn't.
Who gave that order? And why?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yes. Yes, I really would. And I demand to know as an American. That's the problem, is we just don't demand to know. And if we stood up to the powers that be and said, look, we want this figured out, and we want it announced to the American people. What happened here? Because none of it makes sense. And I think the more people that have access and see your documentary, the more people are going to be pissed off about this and say something about it. The problem is we're 7 years down the road now, and it's really hard to get people fired up again about it.
Not in this town.
Really?
I mean, when I did this documentary, I thought, you have to understand, these people saw more combat and atrocities than a lot of my veteran friends did fighting, in the wars. And yet I thought, I was going to like bring back some trauma. No, I get hugs, I get thanks. These people thought they were crazy. No one would listen to them. I mean, I'm the one yelling at Lombardo. I've yelled at the governor before him. I flipped off my congresswoman. I yelled at Lindsey Graham at the airport. Like, I'm in these people's faces as much as I can be. There definitely needs to be more of me. But what can I do when the mainstream media won't touch it?
Yeah.
What can I do? everyone here knows that they did it. Everyone in this town knows about that documentary by now. And we just have no recourse. What do we do when we have a 4-time arrested attorney general that wins re-election in the middle of a crime wave he started? What are we going to do here? This is just stupid.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean...
You mentioned, Mindy, that there were a lot of witnesses who said that there were multiple shooters. How many are? I mean, you presented a bunch of them in the documentary. Do you have any idea how many people there claimed that there were multiple shooters?
Well, here's the thing: if one person calls 911 to complain about a shooter, and there's 20 people around them, they're only going to have the one person call. We may never know. And even just adding it up, there had to be hundreds. Mm-hmm. It is really hard to tell. And here's the other thing: they corroborate each other.
Yeah.
Different people calling at the same place but not together have the same story, same amount of gunshots, describing the same person. This is, I don't know how much more proof I can bring the people. Right. I can prove there's a cover-up. I know it's the feds because they're the only people powerful enough to do this. They've been denying our FOIA requests from McCarran Airport, so we can't listen to that stuff. It's clearly the government, and the government has a tendency to work with other countries because other countries also control this government. It's all the same people. I've been arguing with people about Ukraine is basically Israel. It's the same monsters. We're funding the both sides of wars. What are we doing here?
So both you and Pat alluded to the witnesses there, and I think one of the things that was just shocking from your documentary regarding the witnesses, how many of them ended up suffering untimely deaths. Those people that were speaking out about this, that is shocking in of itself.
Yeah, I don't like to remind myself of that one. There was a girl whose specialty would have been she wanted to bring all these victims together to tell the true story, and she dies in her sleep at 20-something. And then the couple's car. And people are.
And that was before the COVID vaccine. I'd like to point out.
It just validates everything I did. I can't really do anything.
Right. And these untimely deaths of young people, that was before the COVID vaccine. Let's point
out. Wow. Right? So there were actually untimely deaths that are fairly unexplained here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
And that shut people up. People didn't want to testify after that point. I don't care. I'm not afraid. To me, good always wins. And I'm not afraid to be afraid. This is what these people do. They want negative. They want this and that. I make fun of crap. That's what I do. And it cheers people up, and we commiserate about it, and we turn that negative into a positive, and we're doing it in a way that highlights it. That's what I do. I'm actually a comedic actor, if you can believe it. I know. I just fell into this stuff because apparently it's very easy to find holes in the deep state psyops. So
the other thing that's important to note is the more attention you bring to this, the safer you're going to be.
Yeah.
Once you become pretty high profile, it becomes more difficult for them to just disappear you. So
this isn't even the only deep state op I've uncovered. I did a whole thing on J6. I'll send you guys. People that were there.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Didn't even realize they killed 4 people on video. Did you know that?
No.
I was standing there when the cops started everything because they shot tear gas and flashbangs in the middle of a peaceful crowd. People are on fire, and they're like, oh, they're pushing forward. They're on fire. I'm turning into Alex Jones more and more every day.
Yeah, aren't we all, though? Aren't we all? I think the thing that is so fascinating, and maybe that's not the best word here, compelling, of the Las Vegas shooting and your documentary and everything that's involved with that, is that there's so many unanswered questions. And you're going to get that with a lot of conspiracy theories. But this one is just piles on top of each other. And it's so unanswerable just based on what the narrative has been. And that's got to be frustrating for you, right? That the truth isn't being revealed.
Does it need to be revealed? It's pretty clear what happened. I mean, everything they're doing, they're destroying evidence, But
why? I think after the break, we should get into the why.
Well, we'll get into that coming up next, because there's so much here. And again, we haven't scratched the surface of it.
And Americans just have let this go.
Yeah.
They've just written it off.
Sure.
And it's
We've
frustrating.
Got such short attention spans. And they're throwing something at us every minute of every day. Yeah. So it's hard to know, okay, what do we focus on here? What do we really concentrate on? But right now, the focus is Las Vegas. Get into more of it and what happened coming up.
Gray, the Blaze Radio Network.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We're talking with Mindy Robinson, independent journalist, documentarian, host of Conspiracy Truths, about the Las Vegas shooting, one of the worst in American history. And just to recap, some of what she's uncovered here is that there certainly seems to be more shooters than one. All right? There were shots coming from every which way. There were shots maybe coming from helicopters that were in the area. Mindy, you don't believe that Stephen Paddock even shot anybody, right? From his vantage point?
No, I think he was a government spook, and I think they turned him into a very obvious patsy. If you look at my documentary, the autopsy has him dying the next day at noon.
No.
What a magician this guy is. It's wonderful, isn't it?
I've never heard that.
I don't know that I heard that either, because I was just looking at what the official narrative is.
Because supposedly he was dead when they came in, right?
Correct. And he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound
to the head.
And according to, the very factual, all-knowing, all-seeing Wikipedia, he it was shot up from the 32nd floor of Mandalay Bay, fired more than 1,000 rounds, killing 60 people, wounding at least 413. Ensuing panic brought the total number of injured to approximately 867. About an hour later, he was found dead in his room from that self-inflicted gunshot wound, as I said earlier. And the motive for the shooting, according to Wikipedia, is officially undetermined.
Oh, it's not gambling debts?
Because that's kind of where they tried to lead us.
Yes, it is.
I think. Is it?
Yes, it is.
Look at this. Look at his debt. Okay. Yeah, that's worth killing 60 people over, right? Incredible. Tell us, since we're on Stephen Paddock and whether he died that night or the next day, tell us again, walk us through what the deal was in his room where you say this sloppy cover-up occurred. Why was it so sloppy? What happened there?
Aside from all the missing evidence and body, but aside from that, well, here's the thing. Why were police hiding in a stairwell for over an hour?
Yeah.
I mean, so anyone in that room
could
have clearly escaped, and they would have never seen it. They never finished the interviews of people on that floor. They checked nobody. They're hiding, and it's laughable when you look at the footage. It's like this little thing. I'm like, I could have kicked that in. Why are they hiding in a stairwell, allowing anyone in that room to escape?
They're
and at least twice, I think, on body cam footage that we had to sue for and take it all the way to the Supreme Court in Nevada. The cops are going to believe that they had taken down Paddock. So. And you have an accidental discharge when the cops go in that room too. I mean, it's a mess.
Very weird.
Yeah.
It's like a comedy movie, but it's not funny.
And you said the gun.
How messed up this is.
Did you say the gun? He shot himself in the head or whatever happened, and then he threw the gun over his head. Where did the gun wind up?
I don't know, like 3 feet above his head, behind him.
Right. We saw the picture of him laying in the hotel room on the floor.
Yeah.
Right. And there was the blood, and actually, if I remember right, it looked like he'd been dead for longer than just
what
they showed us.
Ding, 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 ding.
So do you buy the suicide theory, or you think somebody killed him too?
I think he was a patsy. I think they were going to do a false flag. There's information I have not put in the documentary that really needs to be exposed on a bigger platform. The thing is, I don't have the proof, but I talked to so many first responders that don't want to go on record, but all their stories match, and it's horrifying. I'm going to tell you, this was a false flag that was made live. Wow. That's why they had to kill Pat. And why did Islamic terrorism claim that he was supposed to be one of them? That must have been his cover story because it went out on their official channels.
And that's kind of where I was hung up.
So he was trying to do a gun buy. They set him up to look like an actual terrorist because he's a spook. And then gun deal goes bad, but it's actually our federal government.
Gosh, I've got so many questions here. All right. Why Paddock, though? I mean, you said he's a spook. So are you saying that he was in on this from the beginning?
And then they made him the fall guy like Lee Harvey Oswald.
And then they said, surprise!
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, first off, they had him as like some kind of whiz at video poker. Nobody is a whiz at video poker, but doing that is how they launder money. So if you get dirty money from the government, the easiest way to launder it is in a casino.
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh my God.
Get a pilot's license. I mean, he had almost no history. And then of course there's child porn on his computer because that's what the feds always do.
I'm telling you, that is
on the computer. They didn't walk off the crime scene, I should say.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because when child porn appears on an American's computer, that is now the equivalent of someone calling you a racist in an argument. It's like you realize, okay, I see where this is going.
See, it doesn't matter what his motive was.
Right.
He was into child porn.
Right.
So don't even ask me about what his motive is.
So we saw, at least through the sanitized news, Mindy, we saw images from the hotel of Paddock bringing, apparently, all this ammunition and all these weapons up to his room. What's that all about?
Mandalay Bay helped him do it. And then, of course, you have the 3 different timelines because Mandalay Bay, MGM, was kind of liable for this. They helped this guy with all these obvious gun cases, if you know anything about it, all the way up to his room. And Lombardo, who is now a wonderful governor, even though no one likes him, he made up 3 different timelines to save their butt, basically. How much time they had between all this other stuff. And it's complicated because he keeps changing it, but it's also very obvious. And of course, you've got Campos, the security guard, who disappears to Mexico, shows up on Ellen DeGeneres, because she's totally not a CIA asset or anything like that. And she happens to have a video slot in that casino, so she's making money. She's a reason to save their butts, too. And he gives his only testimony that she walks him through, and he's never seen again. Oh, and they buy him 2 condos to shut him up. Oh, and he wasn't even registered to be a security guard.
Okay, so explain that to us.
Yeah, because some of that's coming back to me now. It's after 7 years, people have forgotten about that, and especially about the security guard thing. But that was a big deal at the time.
Yes, it was.
So walk us through the security guard who got there, right? And he was checking the doors and things, and they were focused on him for about a minute and a half, and then he disappears.
Goes to Ellen,
and then he's gone.
Yep.
Has he ever come back on the scene? Do we know where he is? What he's doing?
No, he's disappeared. They bought him 2 condos. He's never done another interview, and I don't understand why he's allowed to do that when the public has a right. We have a right to question him, especially when he's changing stories. He was going around it was an accident. He wasn't supposed to be there. There was a door ajar. And, when that happens for too long, they send people to make sure everything's okay. And he just ran across the government's plot and, got shot at. So that's how that happened. And then to shut him up, everything you just said, of course, Ellen DeGeneres, get out of here.
Because they actually held over his head, right? His immigration status, if I recall. Is that?
I don't know. Why would you go to Mexico? I mean, there was it was so shady. And he was clearly bribed to shut up. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't work like that. We have a right as the American public to get answers from him, from Lombardo, from the 3 people in the room they won't register. And then, of course, the Australian guy. Don't forget the guy that knew all this stuff before it was released, jumping up on talk shows saying, we got to stop guns, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. There is so much here. And like Pat said, it just comes rushing back, one thing at a time. You mention a trigger word, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's right, the Australian guy who was anti-guns. So is your contention then that this was just a plot put in place by the federal government to kill and bury the Second Amendment in America once and for all?
Absolutely. Remember, it was very, very important that bump stocks be taken away. And I don't know why. It wasn't really a big deal for gun owners because they're crappy and they don't work. But it had to be in the emails. It had to be what they heard, even though no one else heard these bump stocks. And he must have been the only guy, because he's a true magician, who didn't have a jam on him after 10 seconds in. But also, Paul Ryan, who's a piece of rhino trash, there were 2 bills about to get passed in Congress. One would have been to legalize suppressors so that police and military could save their hearing. And the other was a universal concealed carry law, so that my concealed carry would have carried over into all the other 50 states as it should, like a driver's license. And they were within 24 hours, he pulled them. No one even asked him to. So tell me what it was about. I know what it was about. I mean, it's right there.
That was such a great point you made in the documentary. All this stuff is flooding back. Yes. The effect on legislation, the pro Second Amendment legislation that was teed up, ready to go. Man, gone forever.
Think about it. They had failed in other attempts to take advantage of huge tragedies, huge mass shootings. They've tried it every single time there's a mass shooting. They try to get rid of the guns. So is it too much to believe that they were trying one last mass shooting that will shock the nation to such a degree that everybody will have to get behind taking the guns away? I mean, I could absolutely see that being the case. Absolutely.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
and
I believe-
if
yeah.
you remember, Mindy reminded us that this would have been in the works for quite some time. So they were at least hoping that
Hillary would be there to help
president.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
And she would have driven that home.
Got more with Mindy coming up in a minute. First, if you're one of those homeowners who's trying to buy or sell a home right now, or maybe you're doing both, you've probably discovered that you have a major undertaking on your hands. It's really hard, and it's really stressful. And there's a move involved, and is there anything worse in life than moving?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Almost nothing about getting a house ready to put on the market is easy if you're doing it the right way. And negotiating a sale when you're wanting to buy, that's tough too. So you need a great realtor. Real Estate Agents I Trust. That's where you find a great realtor. And this is a service we do for you for free. We just set you up with the realtor, then the two of you go off together in the sunset. You ride off, and it's happily ever after.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, sweet. So if you'd like that experience, go to Real Estate Agents I Trust. The name says it all. realestateagentsitrust.com.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
All right, back with Mindy Robinson. She's been tracking this Las Vegas shooting for 7 years now, doing a thorough job. You've got to check out her documentary on YouTube or on Rumble, and it's called Route 91.
Uncovering the cover-up.
Uncovering the cover-up. Okay.
Okay, so Mindy, man, I just have so many questions for you. I want you to talk to us about the reports from eyewitnesses. If I remember correctly from your documentary, I think there were a couple of women that were inside a trailer at the airport, right? Is that right? And there was shooting clearly right outside the trailer, according to them. That's not gunfire coming from a hotel, right?
Well, I think you're talking about, they believe there's a 911 call about seeing a gunman at the airport. They thought they were being held under, it was one of the helicopter places.
Right.
Convenient. Helicopter
At a
is the
hangar,
thing for
yeah.
this. And they believe that they saw a gunman, that there was a hostage situation. And then it was never addressed again. No questions on any piece of paper I could find anywhere. Why is that also? I mean, you would almost think that the police had nothing else to do in this town but actually solve the biggest crime that the city has ever seen.
Right, and talking about those helicopters, if nothing else, how suspicious is it to have these? How many helicopters total do you think there were involved in this? Was it half a dozen? I forgot how many you. Four.
Four. Yeah.
Okay. There's
the planecopter, the three that were probably shooting, and then I believe you have to count Maverick's helicopters because if you see on the air blitz thing, you can see that they escape out with a bunch of helicopters up to the north toward our base. And Maverick, I don't care if he can get mad at me all he wants. He just happens to be a military industrial complex guy because those helicopters ain't cheap. They're like millions of dollars each. So
I just think
that too.
The fact that you had, and I mean, in this information age, Mindy, they can try to pull off something in the audacity that they have in trying to pull off something, whoever is behind this. Obviously, there's a cover-up of some sort, a massive cover-up. But there's so much information available, whether it's eyewitnesses or what have you. But I thought the fact that these transponders, how guilty does that appear that they vanish over the city and then they reappear as soon as they leave? That was the most damning evidence of this whole night, in my opinion.
And they were there because they're on people's cell phone videos.
Right.
You can see all three helicopters going back and forth. So they're there without transponders. My better half in the Army was an air traffic control guy. He goes, that should never happen. You do not turn off your transponder above a busy city space like that. So people saw it. It's on video. It's shady as hell. They won't give us a FOIA request for communications at McCarran that night, which last I checked was unconstitutional. So, I mean, it's so, the feds did it. The feds did this.
Hashtag the feds did it. We got to get that trending. Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, they've done so much. But yet, you're a nut job if you start to believe these things. Even though
I think you're a conspiracy theorist if you don't believe that the feds had something to do with it. You're the crazy one. You got to be kidding me.
Right. Right,
Would he
because
be there or something?
they've given us so much reason to not trust them and what they say and their official narrative. And then to try to illegitimize every single person who brings any of the inconsistencies up and act like it's the dumbest thing of all time that you would even question what they say. We just have to do a better job as American people. And thank goodness that you're doing some of this hard work, Mindy, because it's not easy. It's not easy to be leading the way on this and get all the slings and arrows coming your way.
Mm-hmm. It actually kind of is. I feel like I uncover a deep state plot like once a month. These are not the smartest people.
Yeah.
They're very sloppy. It's almost like people don't think that to be that dumb and sloppy. All the time. I could send them to you. It's insane. I'm just like, huh? You know, and you look at like the guy that set himself on fire, all this stuff. I've uncovered some insane stuff, and I'm just one person, not getting paid for anything. But, you know, someone's going to do it, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the fighter for Las Vegas because no one else is. I'll do it. I don't care. They can threaten me. And here's another thing. Why hasn't Lombardo sued me for libel? Oh, because all this evidence would be solidified in court against him. Fun.
I am getting the impression that the governor of Nevada is not your favorite person on this planet. Is that fairly accurate?
He knows who I am.
Yeah, I bet he does. Incredible. It just.
He's also the guy. I have to mention this. That was part of the Bundy Ranch trial thing. That whole scam where he lied on stage. Yep.
Oh wow.
This guy gets around.
The deep state just gave him this governorship with a bow, and I said it when I did this documentary before he even ran, because him and Sisolak are friends, and Sisolak was dead in the water because he did all the COVID tyranny. I led like a protest like every day against Sisolak. I got dragged out screaming things I can't say on the show to him, and then he gets replaced by his buddy who helped him get in. It's a uniparty. I'm a libertarian.
Yeah.
I hope people see it. I want to shake them, bang their heads into the wall. It's the same people. There's a reason the GOP doesn't do anything. Ever. They're spineless. They want that money too. They want that sweet, sweet money laundering cash from Ukraine and Israel and every other place we have to plow over. Love it.
All right, we only have 1 minute here, but I want to get into the guy who went from Las Vegas and the shooting time to Maui during the fire. And he was one of the officials then. We'll get into that and talk about the connection there because it's unbelievable as well. I mean, there's so many things here that we're not privy to, that were going on at the time and have been completely ignored since in the 7 convening years, that it's going to blow you away if it hasn't already.
Yeah.
And really, there's already enough here to just blow your mind. More with Mindy Robinson, independent journalist, documentarian, and expert on what happened in Vegas 7 years ago. More of that coming up.
Pat Gray Unleashed on the Blaze Radio Network. Pat Gray is here on the Blaze Radio Network.
Good morning, American. It's Friday.
And welcome to it. Into our fascinating show on the Las Vegas mass shooting where 58 people were murdered. And it's all been blamed on Stephen Paddock, the guy who was a millionaire and apparently just had a couple of gambling problems. And so he decided he was going to shoot up a music festival. That make any sense to anybody? I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I didn't get it at the time, and they just kind of left it there and left it as like, well, it's an ongoing investigation. We'll let you know. And then they never did.
There are other ways to get back at a casino. This almost feels like someone who had a beef with country music. It's very strange that he would aim his fire that way if he is indeed responsible for that.
And with the guy conveniently dead, why, there's no way to ever tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that he committed suicide.
Yeah, it is a shame.
So I just wonder, Mindy, do you
By the way, our guest, Mindy Robinson,
yes.
rejoins us. Independent journalist, documentarian. She put together this great documentary.
Incredible.
It's about 2 hours long, and you can find it. It's called Route 91, Uncovering the Cover-Up. And it's on Rumble. It's on YouTube. You can check it out there.
Yeah. So, Mindy, Stephen Paddock is, the the narrative from the government for the officials is that he acted alone, he lost his mind, he shot out, through the window, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that your documentary does a great job of is fascinating, showing the activity of his key card in his room. and it makes, right, and so it I don't know how to explain this other than just you make it clear that there had to have been more than one person in the room, showing that it was open from the inside and that, that how close they were to each other. Did he act alone? If he acted at all? But I mean, I guess a better question is, how many people were in that room with him?
At least one other. You had the room service that he ordered for 2. You have, and this is what you were trying to enlighten on, is the room key cards. All hotels have the it's not old-timey skeleton keys anymore. You have the electronic key card. They know when you enter or close. And it wasn't just one room. It was a giant suite and then the room off to the side. That one connecting door. That's what they had to blow open because, magician went to the other side.
Right.
And the key cards revealed that both doors would open at the same time.
Right.
Which is another hell of a magic trick.
Incredible.
And then, of course, he's eating for 2, and people didn't see him alone anyway. But, how convenient. I wonder where it's just...
Well, it is Las Vegas.
I mean, maybe... That's why the cops were hiding in the stairwell.
Maybe he's mass killer and magician.
Oh, yeah.
It is Vegas.
But did he have...
It was Vegas, yeah.
Tell us about, these 3 females, right? Is that how many people were in his company during that?
We only know about it because the body cam footage, I guess, that we sued for, that took forever, took about 1.5 years, they gave the first names and bleeped out the last. And people wanted to look into them, and they were ordered not to. Just like there were FBI agents that wanted to look into the Australian guy that knew everything that he shouldn't have.
What is the deal with that guy?
And the FBI brass said, don't look into it. And when you watch this documentary, you'll see FBI goon Aaron Roos staring down Lombardo as Lombardo stutters and sweats all over himself, waiting for him to make a mistake, which he did quite often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much there to your documentary. It's
speaking of which, let's show a couple of clips from that. Talking about, here's one that discusses the multiple shots.
There was also shooting going on inside of the Mandalay Bay.
It sounded like more than one machine gun, and it just didn't stop.
We heard gunshots from around the corner. We were in the Delano, right next to a walkway that connects the Mandalay Bay and the Delano.
Multiple shots fired. We were on the furthest VIP stages away from Mandalay Bay, and they were ricocheting everywhere where we were. So it was they were firing from somewhere high, and they were unloading clip after clip after clip after clip. There was a shooter, you believe?
Multiple shooters.
It
has to be.
But it flew low enough that I could see that there was a black curtain, the door was open, and the color of the instrument panel. It flew right over our heads. As soon as it got in front of...
Okay, so, they were talking about the helicopters as well a little bit there, but that's interesting because they never followed up on that. I suppose they tried to pass off what these people heard, what these witnesses testified to, as echoes, right? Isn't that what they said? It was, you're just hearing the echo.
They can say that, but it doesn't change the fact you had 3 helicopters that weren't supposed to be there with their transponders off, and 911 calls saying that they're getting shots out of them.
Yeah.
And remember, it's coming from someplace high, and it can't be that second window they can't find. So there you go.
Here's your clip talking about the helicopters.
On the airport, this is a blanket broadcast for all aircraft. Just a heads up.
Hey, yes, we need police. Mark, this is Sid Flamingo. We just got a call right now saying shots fired in the back parking lot, employee parking lot area. Just so you know, what we had got before the shots fired, we did have a guest who brought a gun to officers out near Valet. So it was a gun found also near the Valet entrance.
Huh. Interesting. That just went away.
That gun stuff is fascinating because you have report after report of gun found in a casino bathroom, gun found out on the street. There's not a chance that, let's give them Stephen Paddock was shooting from his window. That does not account for these guns found all over the place.
And all the 911 calls that were testifying to that. Yeah. That were, showing that there's validity to that.
Yeah,
And if you follow the 911 calls, you can tell that the person with the gun or multiple people is traveling further and further away from the airport, all the way down to Bellagio, which isn't even close. And what it looks like is you're finding bullets in a bathroom, and you're finding guns tossed everywhere. It's like they changed clothes to hide who they were. Why don't we get the video from the casino? Who went into that bathroom where they found a bullet? Why?
It's a good question because, like you said, there is video surveillance in the casino.
Yeah, everywhere.
I mean, the city itself is
walk in that town and not have it picked up by a microphone.
And
if you walk, and I have friends that get banned from casinos. They walk in, they recognize their faces from whatever spook technology they got, and then they go and they kick them out. I know I might have been kicked out once because I went in a different door. I thought I was being smart. They found me like that. But they couldn't do anything that night about all these gunmen. No, not actual crime.
I remember. I remember a witness on your documentary who spoke of suspicious activity. I forgot which hotel. I want to say Tropicana. I'm not positive. On the rooftop. So while the shooting is happening from Mandalay Bay, he sees, I feel like it was two individuals. Am I right? That he saw on the rooftop?
Like it,
yeah. I mean,
and we only know about it because it's a traffic cam. That person sent it in. The only evidence we have for this thing are individual people and citizens, not casinos, certainly not the police unless we had a suit for it.
That is incredible.
Yes, it is. You know, with your documentary, I got the impression that obviously today we're getting the impression that it's the government and the spooks that did this. But I got the impression in the documentary that it was possible, maybe it was just me, that something else was going on. It wasn't this
a foreign entity.
It wasn't the end of the Second Amendment. It was another crime taking place. Not the foreign entity, but another crime taking place that was being covered up with this. And that's because that's how we were getting all the 911 calls around the city in different areas because those calls were where the actual crimes were taking place. Did I read that wrong?
There's another conspiracy. Now, here's the thing. This is the government. They often have multiple angles on anything. Look at 9/11. They hid the jillion dollars the Pentagon lost the day before. They pushed through the Patriot Act, and then they started a very lucrative war over imaginary weapons of mass destruction. You know, the buildings falling down, Israeli art students that just happened to have access and just happened to be filming and laughing and just happened to be found with a van full of explosives and that we handed back to Israel with the bow. The government often has multiple angles, and a possible multiple angle was before this new Saudi regime, there was an old one. They were trying to take them out. And maybe, but that's not my problem. I care about dead Americans. And also, that's the worst assassination attempt I ever heard in my life. And yes, the Saudis own like the upper floors or whatever. I don't care. If that was their plan, they failed. I care about the plan that happened. And that's what I just have to remind people. They always have multiple angles for these things. They're going to do a false flag like this. They're going to get everything they can from it. Just like they got money. Remember, these people made a lot of money short selling and selling stock right before it happened. And then, a lot of money afterwards trying to sell security stuff. But no one wanted to go through TSA security to go to their hotel room and eat at a restaurant. So that died in the water. But they tried that too.
They would not do that. Yeah.
Mindy, have you had the opportunity to talk to any family members about what went on? Are they satisfied with the explanation, or are they doing any pushback against this?
Like I said, I was worried I was going to upset them and kind of re-traumatize them, but they're all actually happy. People are it's getting addressed and being talked down because they never got answers. And there's also that GoFundMe money that makes no sense. That Lombardo, when he was doing the debates for governor, he's like, all the information, because we can't find proof of what he did with it. It looks like it was squandered. And I just want to see where it went. And he's like, it's on my website. I go look, it's not there. So you know what? Whatever. Whatever. These people, they made money. And if the GoFundMe, I want to see the transparency on it, because some people made money on it, and then you talk to some people that were even hit and stuff, and they got nothing. So it's just disgusting, the whole thing. And it's going to happen again if this doesn't get addressed, which is why I do nothing. I mean, I do a lot of things, but this is probably my biggest one that I fight for. I mean, these are my people. I live here. My friends were there. Yeah. It could have been my friends. If I was there, there's nothing you could do against a headshot coming at you. There's no defense to this.
I tell you,
there's no stopping it.
The longer we talk to you, the more just flashbacks I have from your documentary. Can you please talk to us about the sound waves that clearly showed there was more than one gun and different distances? I mean, that's damning in of itself.
And it's definitely not a bump stock. I demonstrated that too. Bump stocks are almost impossible. They're crap. Like teenagers use that stuff. It's not reliable. You're certainly going to use it for an event like this. You know, it's like showing up with a water gun. It's going to jam and it's going to whatever. So if you listen to it, and there's so many clips, I even had a sound guy.
Yeah,
He's
it's
like,
demonstrated by the sound guy.
Nice guy. He's like, you can hear the cop moves 10 feet and everything changes.
Yeah.
You know, the speed changes. You can tell different calibers. They shot at a pro Second Amendment crowd, and that was their biggest mistake. And if they thought shooting at us was going to change our minds on needing guns, it solidified it. And that's what happened. It only solidified it. And I'll never give up my guns. I mean, I believe in Jesus. I don't know if the ATF does.
I believe in Jesus. I don't know if the ATF does. Write that down. I like that. So, okay.
That's a great T-shirt.
Yeah.
And don't shoot my dog.
Right. One of the things that you really highlighted in the documentary was the activity around the Motel 6 and the law enforcement's lack of curiosity over there. Tell us what was happening over there. Because, again, I want people to imagine, don't think just, okay, one guy shooting down on a crowd. No, there are so much stuff happening simultaneously throughout the city of Las Vegas that maybe they were just distractions, but maybe there was more. Maybe there were just, it was just a bigger plot. But explain why the Motel 6 parking lot is so important.
That was the one where there was 2 gunmen. So most of the reports up and down the strip were one gunman with a gun that was seen everywhere, acting crazy, like trying to be the most obvious person ever. And then you have these contractor-looking people. And you know what a contractor, those are those scumbag Blackwater types. I probably shouldn't talk crap about them. They're always in pairs. They're cargos, and people describe these same 2 guys in different areas. And one of them is the Motel 6. And one thing I had to do, because it's very confusing, is I drew a map. And you can, if you watch the doc, you can see how close everything is. And you can see how it goes out from there. And you can follow the 911 calls. You can follow the FBI reports, the police reports. Everything is linear. And the Motel 6 was right next to the thing. There's also a motel in the middle of this venue. It was an abandoned hotel, a motel actually, that they never, if you wanted to set up a spot to do all the things that happened that night, the abandoned hotel with a fence around it that no one could go into would be a great spot. But they didn't even, as far as I could tell, there isn't anything where they investigated it at all whatsoever.
It's just stunning, but yet what we've learned about our government in recent years, it's not.
But we did have...
I don't trust this government to make me a sandwich anymore. You gotta be kidding me.
But we did have...
They tried to kill everybody. Am I supposed to forget? They just tried to kill everybody?
Amen.
We did have shooters, though, in the back, right? By that hotel. Maybe not in the grounds of that old hotel, but it was close to there, did we not? Where you had a group of soldiers...
Here's the problem. When I was putting this together, there were things I was told that I could not find anywhere on the internet anymore. It was disappearing as I looked for it. There are videos that if someone wants to help me get on the dark web and help me find them, I know what to look for. There are other damaging things I cannot even talk about because it'll damage my credibility. I have to have proof.
Okay.
I have to have my receipts when I talk
good for
about
you.
stuff
That's how it should be.
Someone's got to,
if you're an actual journalist, and you are. We have one of the clips from the documentary about with a female being arrested with guns at the Paris hotel. Is that right? All right. Go ahead and roll that.
At 11:30, a CVS employee near Bellagio reports hearing multiple shots and people running. At the same time, a woman calls to say her and her wife are hiding from gunshots at the Bellagio. She claims she heard about 4 to 5, which corroborates with all the other witness statements from that incident. Then a man calls 911 to say he heard a single gunshot and saw people running at Excalibur now, followed by the first of many calls from people hearing gunshots and running from a shooter on the Paris casino floor, which is corroborated over the scanner by a female officer at the scene.
All of that going on at the same time? Incredible.
That's where it's going.
Unreal.
Man with a gun and a knife.
Is a man with a 413 at Paris. Paris!
Person with a gun, person with a knife.
Paris, 444 Paris. Paris.
This channel is South Central that we do have one suspect down in custody for SWAT.
At 11:31, an officer takes 3 suspects into custody, including 2 women with possible weapons.
Huh. And
a lot going on.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of weird stuff going on, including this. And so this is all going on almost simultaneously, right, Mindy?
Yeah, in a linear fashion. That's why, I mean, it's a 2-hour documentary. I broke it down minute by minute to follow along because it only makes sense when you do that. And I want to say one more thing. It wasn't the beat cops' fault that night. You can tell. They were in a panic. They had this thrown at them.
Yeah.
And they look bad at this only because of the brass and Lombardo and Aaron Roos, you know, doing all the things that they did. And if any cops want to come to me and tell me the truth about what happened that night, I will not tell the feds who you are. It's not my job to do their job for them. I would love to know more about this. And from the things I already heard, I have a pretty good idea what else was going on that night. I would love to talk about just a little bit more evidence.
All right. More with Mindy coming up here in a minute. First, let me tell you about balance of nature. Making sure you have enough fruits and vegetables in your diet is important. You know, you want to be healthy. But it can also be really hard, especially if you're busy. The average person doesn't even eat half of the recommended servings in a day. And if you're like me, you don't get any of the recommended vegetables because I just don't like them. I just don't like vegetables. And I'm old enough now to where I can decide, you know what? I'm not going to eat them.
I'm going to eat them.
So what I do is I get my vegetables from this. The balance of nature is such a great way to go if you don't like kale, you don't like green beans and Brussels sprouts and all that nasty stuff. Balance of Nature provides on-the-go solutions for you, and they haven't raised their prices in 10 years. Their proprietary blend of 31 fruits and vegetables come in easy-to-swallow capsules and will give your body so much nutrition that it needs. Imagine trying to eat 31 different kinds of produce in a single day. It's virtually impossible. Nobody does it. So,
why would you?
Why would you? And why would you? It's icky. Okay, that's the most salient point right there. Vegetables are icky. Yeah. That's why I get them like this. Okay, Balance of Nature. You get 35% off plus $10 off any additional sets with your first order as a preferred customer by using my discount code PAT. That's limited to 5 sets, but you'll save a ton of money while you get the fruits and vegetables you need in your diet, including kale. Nice. The nastiest of all vegetables. Nice. Go to balanceofnature.com. Use the promo code PAT. Balanceofnature.com.
Pat Gray. Join the conversation. 888-900-3393. Pat Gray Unleashed. We'll be right back.
All right. Strolling down memory lane. It's not a fun or an easy lane. It's a tough one. What happened in Las Vegas almost 7 years ago now, and we still have no official answers. The narrative they continue to stick with is that this, how old was he, like 57 or something, 60? I don't know.
Stephen Paddock, yeah.
Old millionaire Stephen Paddock just decided, because he had some gambling debt, to start shooting up the music festival, the Route 91 Music Festival, which is why Mindy Robinson did a great documentary on it. It's 2 hours, definitely worth all 2 hours. Route 91, uncovering the cover-up.
So, Mindy, one of the things your documentary does a great job of pointing out is who benefited from this. And I specifically remember former, I believe it was Homeland Secretary Michael Chertoff, if I'm not mistaken. Talk to us about who stood to benefit from this kind of tragedy occurring.
Well, the same people that always benefit from this kind of tragedy, the people that happen to dump their stocks, you know, like the CEO Jim Murren and George Soros right before this happened. And then obviously Chertoff, who was going to make a ton of money selling extra security so this never happens again. Like, you can stop what happened. And then it was funny, it's not funny, but Laura Loomer proved that she went up the same elevator like a few months later and they let her. I mean, it's so obvious what happened here. And the same people, and of course the government. Every time one of these things happen, the government gains power, takes away more of our rights, particularly gun rights. And when have you ever seen them drop a tragedy in 2 weeks? They had to drop it because there was so many holes in it. They would have milked this forever. That was the plan. Except every person and their mother could have uncovered the plot here.
Yeah, and they had Donald Trump in office instead of Hillary Clinton. And so they didn't get the mileage out of it they hoped for.
What is it with all the...
And in a pantsuit, yeah.
All of the eyewitnesses and the casino employees who just kind of went quiet after this, after what they had witnessed that night?
And no one wants to die. I mean, no one wants to seem crazy either. But after a few witnesses start disappearing, especially their main one that was going to fight this and then break out the truth, dies in her sleep at a young age. Yeah, no one wanted to touch this for a long time. And I put it together. It shouldn't come down to me. This is the kind of thing that should come down like 2020 or, any of those supposed news organizations we used to have. But it comes down to me. And if I can do this, I encourage everybody to start doing their own research with every shooting. Because I had to look at the other false flags our government's done, the Oklahoma bombing, the Boston bombing, all the things that didn't make sense with those narratives to figure out what they did here. And you know what? If I had more time and more of me, I will eventually do documentaries on those too, because guess what? Guess who did those too? Same crappy narrative that never adds up. And, it's going to keep happening until people wake up and people know something's wrong. It's just the news won't talk about it, and the government's not going to arrest and investigate themselves, just like they won't investigate themselves for election fraud. Like, how these people that never do anything the voters want keep magically winning their seats. Magicians again.
Yep.
These people are waiting for them to arrest and investigate themselves, and it's not going to happen. It's a war of information. The only thing that's going to set us free is the truth. And I think the Great Awakening is upon us. I don't think people are going to fall for this crap anymore. I think it's over. I think they know it's over. They're panicking. The lies are the Newsweek thing where Biden is winning in every poll against Trump. Who? Who's eating paint chips on that one?
All right, so we're coming up to the bottom of the hour, but I do want to go back to what you had said at the beginning when you talked about after the shooting, 2 weeks, I believe you said, they paved over the parking area where the concert was. And I'm fascinated.
I think it was about 1 week.
I'm sorry?
I think it was about 1 week.
Wow.
They paved over the whole thing, so you couldn't tell where the trajectory of the bullets were.
So what was the excuse that they used for that? I mean, that's a crime scene.
There's no excuse. Welcome to Las Vegas. It was better when the mob ran it. It's actually a shirt I made because it was safer when the mob ran it because there was no crime. You know what I mean? Now, there's a whole crime wave. Like I mentioned, a 4-time arrested Attorney General, Aaron Ford, who I had to take on. This guy, look, I cannot swear. He wanted to get rid of castle doctrine. This Attorney General, who'd been arrested 4 times, want to make it so if someone broke in my house and I killed or injured them, they could sue me.
Right.
Insanity. All right. We're going to finish up with Mindy in this fascinating look at what happened in Las Vegas. Coming up.
Pat Gray Unleashed on the Blaze Radio Network.
Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What a
Wasn't
way to
really
go out.
directed toward you, but yeah, whatever. Whatever.
That cuts.
Wow.
Don't forget to check us out on Twitter and tweet about what you're hearing
X.
if you want. X, right? Exactly.
How dare you, dad name.
Instagram, whatever. Whatever.
Is this the one that you're not supposed to wear white pants afterwards?
Oh, that
Memorial Day?
Memorial Day, yes.
Yeah.
I guess my wife, according to my wife, that's gone. That's old news.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't.
So
they
I
don't
can wear my
subscribe
white
to that
jeans?
anymore.
Is it because nobody wears
Yeah.
white pants anymore except for Chris Cruz?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly why it was. In fact, that's what Ralph Lauren said
way.
when he ended it.
Yeah.
He said this is Chris Cruz's fault. So if you like wearing white pants only in the summer,
Actually,
blame him.
That sentence can apply to so much. This is Chris Cruz's fault.
It's really true. It's really true. Anyway, we are joined today in a fascinating discussion with Mindy Robinson, independent journalist. She's the host of Conspiracy Truths and this documentary that we all saw, but it's been a while. It's been several months now. But Route 91, uncovering the cover-up on the Las Vegas shooting. We have the body cam videos.
Yeah, we have those 9 body cam videos that she shows in this, which
Okay.
is very interesting.
All right, let's see that, and then we'll get back to Mindy.
We are not. We don't even have any.
You can hear the shots being fired in the background.
Shots being fired.
Virginia, 415A now, Bellagio, PDR is hearing a lot of shots being fired.
At the Bellagio? Okay. Keep in mind, the main shooting happened in Mandalay Bay.
They said one SWAT shot him.
Virginia now, Bellagio, PDR is hearing a lot of shots being fired.
The heck?
That's
6. Number 6.
That's a shot.
Several.
Yeah. Good bump stuff.
All right, here. Go.
Shots, my friend. Bullets being fired from a gun. You're a police officer. You should probably know that. It does sound like machine gun.
It does. Now, Bellagio,
See, he knew
PDR is
that.
hearing a lot of shots being fired.
Wow.
Keep in mind, there are still multiple reports of people seeing a gunman at the Bellagio at this time.
Interesting. Jeez. Mindy, was a machine gun ever found? I mean, it certainly sounded like that was a machine gun.
Well, it certainly sounded like it, but I think worth mentioning is this is after Paddock was found dead.
That is kind of worth mentioning.
That is interesting.
Yeah. That little aside there, the killer was already killed. He was dead.
It was like 11:30, I think,
What?
and all the police scanners picked it up. So,
Wow.
And then you even hear where they reiterate that they believe that SWAT had shot him.
Yeah.
How do you make that mistake?
Yeah.
So that audio that
that's crazy.
We just played there from your documentary alluded to what was happening at the Bellagio. I mean, that is something that gets overlooked.
Yeah, that's a separate place.
Yeah, talk to us about, first of all, how far that is from where the shooting occurred and what was going on over there according to eyewitness accounts.
There were gunshots, there was broken glass. I mean, there's all kind of witness testimony in this. Obviously, you can hear it over the scanner. The cops are hearing it. It's getting picked up on their scanners. This is after the shooting is over. So it doesn't match, the story Lombardo's selling. And, I would love to look at the casino footage, but it doesn't seem to exist. Seems kind of important thing to keep, especially when this is going on. It's only 911
So
calls.
there's no footage
alas,
of that at all either.
No, other than the body cam footage we sued for and like people's testimony of when they were there from their cell phones. There's no casino footage whatsoever, and there's cameras everywhere in this town. And I'd be surprised there's one coming out of the toilet, honestly.
Right.
What was the significance of Paddock's home? Wasn't his door open or something when police went over there?
Oh, the wind blew it open. Yeah. The cops.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
All the time.
Oh, man.
And they believe the wind blew it open because
If I had a nickel for every time the wind has blown my front door open at my house, I wouldn't be doing this. I'll tell you, I'd be so wealthy. Because, man, that happens all the time. 8, 9, 10, 12 times a day. Easy. That's incredible. Come on.
What? Okay, and this, So what is that alluding to? That someone went there to plant evidence, or
remove evidence,
or remove evidence,
take evidence, plant evidence. Kind of sounds like our government.
Sure does.
Right.
Yeah.
So this,
obviously, I think Paddock was a spook, so they had to go in and take all the evidence and proof that he wasn't. And another thing worth mentioning, and I don't think I brought up in the documentary, I kind of thought of it afterwards, was I think it was like at 2 other music festivals he'd kind of scoped out. Like, what if that was his job for the government, was to see how safe these things are, and then at one of them, they make it go live and kill him. I mean, that's within the realm of possibility, too. That's a theory.
Yeah,
it's an educated theory. It's a better hypothesis than anything else they're given. But that's one thing I think people need to think and look about.
Do you have any thoughts on why they would choose this time and this place for this mass murder?
They controlled all our politicians. You don't understand how corrupt Nevada is here. For the third or second time, we just had an election where I'm a libertarian, so my vote doesn't matter in the primary, but my other half's a Republican. He never sent it in, but the Secretary of State's website said it did, while it's sitting on our counter, as were hundreds of other people on Twitter. And they go, oh, it's a glitch. And then that's it. They don't have to, no accountability. They don't have to look into anything. They did the same thing with the primary last year. When Lombardo won, 40,000 people couldn't vote because of a DMV glitch, sent them a nonpartisan ballot. So you can only vote on like justice of the peace and crap no one cares about, and which didn't affect the Democrats because they're running an incumbent. And the margin of win, of course, was way less than that. It should have been a redo right there. But The government controls everybody here, just like our old incident commander for this shooting got sent to Maui, got a raise, and then magically that catches fire and they send people the wrong way and the fire hydrants are off and there's all these missing children no one wants to talk about. Yeah, you covered that up there too, but I'll say it. I mean, I'm tired of this. We're barely going to have a country in 6 months anyway. The government owns everybody in the state of Nevada. I caught our county commissioner walking out between us after they certified a fraudulent election, their own election. They can certify their own elections, apparently. We asked him if he's a minor attracted person, which is their euphemism for pedo, because he was pushing drag queens on kids, and he shakes his head yes. And they promoted him. They didn't even look into it. This is what we're dealing with here. I'm tired of it. I'm done. Done with these people.
Walk us through. You brought up something pretty interesting. The police chief in Vegas at the time was the police chief at Maui when the fires happened, right?
The incident commander. The incident commander.
Incident
for the
commander.
shooting got sent to Maui with the raise, with the ribbon and bow. The sheriff, Joe Lombardo, who's the guy doing all the nervous prep because he's an awful liar.
No.
He's the one that was installed as governor. Even though the Republicans voted for somebody else at their own convention. How does that happen?
How does any
Guy
of
gets
this?
booed everywhere he wins. Okay, sure.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
that's a great shot there because the FBI guy is just
staring him down.
Staring him down.
Mm-hmm. Yep, sure is. So, Mindy, do you recall? I remember from your documentary a mention of a prediction being posted that the Las Vegas shooting or a Las Vegas mass incident like this was going to occur. It was on 4chan, if I recall. And then also, speaking of predicting, we haven't talked about the lady that night, right? That was shouting to people, "You're all gonna die."
Oh,
right. They were dragged away. This was not a small incident. She
Yeah.
told everyone that they were going to die. This Hispanic or Asian woman, they couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Not my problem. I wasn't there. Don't blame me.
Mm.
But, and then they never looked for her. But the security had to drag her away. So she knew something was up, and they don't investigate that. You got to be kidding. And what was the other thing you brought up? Was
The 4chan thing.
Well, not only that was there really cryptic messages on 4chan, like stay away from public spaces. They were also doing what do you call it when they practice for this stuff? They were doing a practice
drill
mass shooting in this town that week. So when people called the hospital freaking out about it, they're like, "Oh no, it's just practice." Because that always Boston bombing, everything.
Why does that always happen? 9/11.
It's 9/11.
It's always happening during a drill. What is that?
What a coincidence.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so is it your opinion that this was strictly a domestic thing with our government perpetuating this, or do you think there was any foreign involvement whatsoever? Because I've read that and I'm talking separate from just the overseas claim that Paddock was one of their soldiers. Do you think that there was any kind of foreign entities involved in this whatsoever?
Isn't that kind of the same thing as our government right now? I mean, the Chinese balloons going 1 mile per hour can't be shot down.
Okay. All right.
The guns we just gave to terrorists because we just left Afghanistan without clothes on. It's clear that foreign countries, which shouldn't be allowed to influence. I don't care what country it is. No foreign country should be allowed to influence ours, whether it's Israel, whether it's usually that one. But it's just. They should not be allowed to own and buy our politicians because we're looking at it. How much money have they sent to Ukraine and Israel while our border is open and people are coming through and we're paying for it? We're funding people to come here and their travel and their medical and all the other things that we can't even give combat veterans because we are foreign controlled. It's the same thing. The deep state is foreign controlled. It's controlled by the central banking system, which controls the military industrial complex. We've been the strong arm. We've been the goon squad, lied to about every war we've ever been in since before I was alive, since 1812. The Gulf of Tonkin, look it up. I mean, there's so many instances. The Vietnam War was fought over a lie. All of them are fought over lies. And I'm tired of watching our good men die so that we can install the central banks into another country. Iraq wasn't on it. Kuwait wasn't on it. Afghanistan wasn't on it. We plowed through a country over imaginary weapons, and then magically they're on the banking system. You know who isn't? Russia and Iran. Huh. Gee, who are we trying to start a World War III with so recently lately? I mean, it's so there.
Yes is the answer.
Yes, we'll take that as a yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mindy, thank you. It's fascinating. And I highly recommend the documentary, Route 91, Uncovering the Cover-Up. Thanks for joining us. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Man,
she's not the biggest fan of the federal government. I got that impression. Is it just me?
No.
Okay.
No,
it isn't just me.
Look at you.
All right,
I know. In between the lines. Okay.
I thought I'd go out on a limb there and just make a bold statement there. I don't think she's in love with the federal government.
Do you think that
or the governor of Nevada.
Or Las Vegas politics, for sure.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Las Vegas shooting or 9/11 for that matter, but any of the I guess conspiracies, for lack of a better word, any of these big events where there are unanswered questions, do you think that we are ever going to learn the truth about this stuff? It just
not in this life. I don't think so.
What's the first question you ask God? Hey, what was the Las Vegas shooting all about?
Yeah, first question is probably dinosaurs. Where do they fit in? Second question is, what is the deal with the Atlanta Falcons blowing a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl?
I mean, you're at the table. You got to ask.
You got to ask.
That's your question?
Yes, just on your behalf.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because I want you to be able to rest easily for the eternity, And so I think we need to get that out of the way.
Somewhere in there, you got to ask about. Sure.
Yeah.
MH370.
MH370. Did OJ, in fact, kill Nicole and Ronald Goldman?
Wait, you're asking
I want to know
that question?
Yes.
He's going to be like,
oh, how stupid are you?
I was about to let you in until you asked me something stupid like that, bro. Get out of here. Come on, there's no room for you now. I tell you, this government, it's like every single day, you trust it less and less, for good reason.
Yes.
And something like this Las Vegas shooting,
her distrust though goes a little beyond mine, and I think even yours. Is that too far? I don't know. I think even Keith. I mean, she is like the female version of Alex Jones there.
Yeah, she even said she sounded
even
like
brought
him.
up the Gulf of Tonkin.
Yeah, you can't. That's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm not, no, gentlemen. I'm not willing to cede that ground to her.
Okay.
I am not willing to say that she likes the government less than me. But it is very close. Very close.
It's close. Yeah. It's close.
It's so sad that we have to live in a country.
I hate it.
Where we have to even ask these questions.
It. Yeah.
We shouldn't have to suspect our government.
And we never did. I was never this skeptical of the government.
5 years ago, me would have been just
5 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I was like a babe in the woods, probably, just believing everything and lapping it all up.
Which is really what got us here.
Yeah, it's what got us here.
It's really what got us here.
It's really, it's sad. It's very sad. And, to think that the feds might have done this for the purpose of circumventing the U.S. Constitution, I hate to even entertain it.
I know.
But how do you not now?
I know.
How do you not?
I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I mean, it all started in 1963.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we did learn that about a
damn
month
metric
ago.
system.
Yeah.
That metric system. Dang it. And then soccer.
And then prayer.
Dang.
Prayer from schools were removed.
Prayer from schools. Right.
Not in that order,
I'm
though.
not sure of the order, but yes.
And let us not forget Keith Vendetta against the USPS. That's when zip codes started happening.
Zip codes. Even though zip codes move the mail, and mail moves the country. I'm on your side on this one.
Thank you.
And the coup.
And
JFK.
the coup. My gosh. Think seriously.
Yeah.
Consider 1963.
Yeah.
You got the coup, and I believe it was.
Ron Paul
said it was a coup. I tend to agree with him.
Oh, 100%.
You've got the school prayer.
I mean, those two
You
alone.
got the Communist Manifesto being entered into the congressional record. I mean, that's pretty significant.
Yes, it is.
Wow. We should do a thing, a Friday show maybe, or I don't care, a Monday show on the significance of 1963 sometime. Jeez. Has anybody thought about that but us?
No.
No, you're right.
So
no one has.
Don't say anything.
It is totally original, and we're the only ones who know it. But
in fact, edit this part out.
You know what? Let's change it to the title of this show should now be renamed to 1963 Unleashed.
Yeah, right?
I was trying to see if when was the Ten Commandments removed from the courthouses, but that was 2002. So
that was fairly recently.
Yeah, they first talked about it in '63, though.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, there's documentation on that.
Maybe Michael Newdow was born in 1963 because he's the one. We should look at that.
Yes.
Let's look at that. Find out when atheist Michael Newdow was born. What year? If it's 1963, I'm telling you.
I'm betting right now. I'm betting right now.
Oh my goodness, you were so close.
Really?
1953.
Okay, 10 years before that. Okay.
No, that's a misprint.
It's a misprint. Yeah, there's a typo. So, do we know what? Have we decided what our Free Think Friday topic is for the end of June?
I don't know. Have we?
Do we know?
Have we gone that far?
I thought that was you. I think I got a thing here. Hold up.
I got nothing on me. Like I am not on that list. Booking a guest.
Yeah, you wrote 9/11.
But I don't have a good guess for that.
I thought we were going to invite
we gotta get Alex Jones.
Alex Jones for that one.
Yes. Well, you're the one that has a contact on that.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Okay.
I don't know. We'll have to talk about that off here. We'll talk about that later. All right, kids.
Sorry about that.
I feel like that's the dad version. It's not going to happen.
When the kids aren't around, we'll talk about
That's
that.
That's where the dad says maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And then the kid comes back and says, "But you said."
I said maybe.
I said maybe, bro. Go to your room. Yeah, that would be an interesting topic. We do have a lot of stuff that we're kind of throwing about. So can I just publicly say these in case anyone has a good guest idea for some of these? We're not committing to them.
Yeah.
I want to talk to somebody and maybe it's a brother of Pat Tillman. I don't know. I'd like to know more about
the
Pat
Tillman thing is fascinating
It sure
too.
is. And it's sad.
The Tillman family is unhappy with the U.S. government as well.
Yeah.
And they believe that there were really bad things. And I think it's come out, really.
Yeah,
right?
I thought it
it's
had.
beyond
Maybe not.
speculation or conspiracy theory. He was killed by friendly fire. We know that. Was it accidental or on purpose, though? And there's a widespread belief it was on purpose.
Yeah.
You also have on this list anthrax.
Anthrax. We need to talk about the origins of anthrax and how the federal government, as I'm sure Mindy would agree if she were here,
there's a theme here.
Is the creator of that anthrax scare post 9/11,
Okay.
and they have traced back the origins of the specific anthrax used in the attacks on Congress after 9/11. And lo and behold, they have to be from a government lab.
Yeah, well, it was the scientist guy.
Scientist guy, yeah.
It was the scientist guy that sent it, I thought, right? Who was a government scientist guy.
I think you need a Free Think Friday on that.
That's a good one.
That one out.
That is a good one.
That's a good one.
It's not
Bigfoot.
dry.
Bigfoot.
That
might be a good one.
Yeah. You also have here Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe's death.
That's a good one.
Is again, we're throwing these out there.
They're not penciled in. These are just ideas.
Yeah.
They're penciled in.
No, they are penciled in.
They're not in ink.
They are penciled in. Where we were keeping them in a breathing room.
Yeah. Do you recall on the live stream that the four of us did on my podcast on my YouTube channel? It's kind of like where there's smoke, there's fire.
Oh, don't bring that up.
The origins of
we
that
don't need to bring
idiom.
that up.
So when you pencil something in, it's not written in ink. But I love you. I love you dearly.
Also, we just added Bob Saget. I'm
Bob
so
Saget.
interested about that.
But what I'm trying to say is that that we're throwing these out there because if you, the awesome audience, the great Pat heads, if you have people in mind and go, oh, I've got just a person for you, please, what is the email address?
Conspiracies at theblaze.com. You can throw that up there, Joe, if you have it handled.
Conspiracies at theblaze.com. And let us know if you have a good guest idea because... You know, it's tough.
Yeah, if you know a Bigfoot, we can talk to.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll have him in studio. We'll fly him in.
That one, or you can email chewingthefat@theblaze.com. I'm happy with that.
We've got one right here. We could just ask him questions.
I'm not.
Wow, we're talking about what?
Wow.
I love you.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Good thing this wasn't on Pat Gray. Well, yes, it is on Pat Gray and Lynch. Where we don't tolerate fat shaming. Oh, wow.
What else is on that list, Chris? Anything pop up on that?
I can't read your handwriting, bro. What killed
I know.
Elf
Nobody can read
Scott?
his handwriting.
What killed who?
Elf Scotts.
Elf
and
Scott.
then Better Boring Hill.
What?
I have no idea.
What killed Elf Scott?
Elf Scott. Oh, Elvis. What killed Elvis?
I agree. I can't read my handwriting either. And what was the other one?
What killed Elvis? That's a good one. Elvis is a fascinating one because some people actually don't think he died.
Right. Well, I mean,
apparently, one of the theories goes like, well, he was very superstitious, and because he wasn't dead, he didn't want the real spelling of his name on the tombstone because he would have thought that, okay, then he will die, it'll jinx him or whatever. So that's why it was misspelled on his tombstone. I don't know if that's accurate, though.
What was the other one you said?
Elvis Aaron Presley. It was Aaron, I think, was spelled wrong, or Presley was spelled wrong.
So,
One of the two.
Yeah.
Something about a hill.
Something about a hill.
Better hill? Better boring hill? Boing hill? I don't know.
Oh, nah, crap.
Better boring hill?
Oh, I know what it is. It's
one of those engine stories.
Barney and Betty Hill incident.
There it is.
That was
man, how many times have we talked about the Barney and
I
Betty
don't know.
Hill incident?
Too many to count.
Should we do Waco?
Too many.
Oh, we got to do Waco. Write that down.
Waco's
Gotta do
good.
Waco.
Make that legible too. Sorry about
But
that.
I mean, what's the conspiracy there? We know that the government killed him. I mean, what would be the conspiracy on that?
Y'all should look into the Barney and Betty Hill. It's a UFO abduction story out of New Hampshire back in, I don't know, the 1950s or something.
Oh.
And it is fascinating.
Barney and Betty Hill?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it was fascinating because...
Don't. To quote Joe Biden, don't.
All right, I was just wondering what happened to Barney and Betty. Were they abducted together?
Yeah, they were.
Were they made to do strange things?
They were a married couple. What else you got?
Were they made to do strange things with the aliens watching?
I wish we had time to investigate that further, but we don't.
I know, but I want
We only have time to wish you a really great Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
We'll see you back here not Monday, but on Tuesday. See you then.
Pat Gray, only on the Blaze Radio Network.